I'm Brandy Law. I'm the executive director for KW NextGen, and I'm joined today by a very special guest. James Shaw is going to have a great conversation with us about Quantum Leap and the principles and the action behind it. So, James, if you share a little bit about you, we'll get started.
Will do. Well, my name's James. I've been with KW now for 21 years. I joined as a buyer agent on a team, a real estate team outside of Chicago. And then I had the chance to sit in so many different seats inside of Keller Williams. I grew up here, and I'm so thankful for the principles and the ideals that are taught inside of Keller Williams that are now taught through KW NextGen and in Quantum Leap, because they've had such a massive impact on me as, I'll be 50 in a year. So it's like to think about all the stuff I've learned here is great, and it's led to lots of opportunity. I've got to have the opportunity to be a team leader in 2 different market centers and work as a MAPS coach and a BOLD coach, and I'm a KWU master faculty member, and I've had almost every role inside of Keller Williams. I worked in Austin, Texas at KWRI for a time as well, and I've been very blessed and I'm very grateful to this company for what it teaches, and I love that it teaches it now to younger people through QL and KW NextGen.
Let's go back to when you first encountered some of the
Yeah.
principles from Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
What did your life look like back then, and what was your business situation at the time?
It's interesting because I go back to my first introduction to some of the things that you learn in Quantum Leap were not taught to me in Quantum Leap. I didn't take Quantum Leap until a little bit later in my time at Keller Williams, but I took a course called FSO. It's really boring. It's Franchise Systems Orientation. It's for people who own an office, and we all went to Austin, Texas to the Hyatt Regency and had a full day. Actually, it was like 3 or 4 days where the owner of an office would learn how to run Keller Williams systems and models. And I worked closely with the owner of our office. And so I had a chance to go. And I was so lucky, Brandy, because Mo Anderson and Dave Jenks, who are just, I don't know, they're legendary inside of Keller Williams. They were the facilitators. And back then we opened every single class inside of Keller Williams teaching what is now taught as part of Quantum Leap. Then we called it the 6 personal perspectives, and they would teach those. And I remember learning a bunch of them, but they got to this idea of being accountable versus being a victim. Mm-hmm. And I was in my early 20s, and I had just gotten married, and then 13 months later gotten divorced from my college girlfriend. And we'd been together 7 years total, but here this is at the end. Our relationship is ending, and it needed to. But man, Brandy, was I a victim. I mean, everything was caused by somebody else. I had no DNA on any issue. I was a total victim. And I remember Mo standing in front of that room and teaching us the difference between what it means to be accountable and what it means to be a victim, which you learn in Quantum Leap. And it having such an impact on me that later on in the day, when Mo and Dave are asking for various, ahas, what are things you learned? And they're really looking for about how to run a successful real estate office. And I raised my hand and said, I learned that I have for the last year been a complete and total victim. And that it's up to me to choose to be accountable. That whatever has happened, and how I respond to what's happening will determine my life experience, the result, what happens next, how I see things, the opportunities that come my way. And that was 21 years ago, and it had a massive impact on how I looked at the world. It doesn't mean, Brandy, I'm not still a victim from time to time, but understanding the difference between being accountable and being a victim had a huge impact on my life at that time. I have a teenager, a high school freshman, and 8th grade, there was a teacher that she had last year in 8th grade that they just didn't click. And that happens sometimes. I got a good student, almost all A's and did great. But this one teacher, and she struggled in the class too. And there were times that she'd go, but if the teacher would just explain it, but if the teacher, and I was like, honey, you don't get to pick the teacher. The teacher has been picked for you. So the teacher is the teacher. And so we're going to have to figure out, how are we going to figure it out? Because ultimately you got to get the work done. You got to pass your test. And get, I'm not a pressure to get A's person, but she wanted to get an A in the course. And so if you want to get an A, this is what it's going to take. We can't blame the teacher. We've got to show up and deal with whatever we've got. And that's an example that I think we all run into, those types of things, that sometimes we're in a situation that wasn't of our own making, but how are we going to show up in it?
Well, so then, and you mentioned, I think the 6 personal perspectives, like that's one of them.
Yeah.
So as you look at the different principles and how you move then into the leadership journey, was there another principle that was foundational to how you decided to operate, and what did that look like for you?
Okay, so I think when I got into leadership inside of Keller Williams, I started to learn more about this whole idea of the MVVBP, right? Which is your mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. And I remember first learning it, I'm like, what is all this about? But it does give us clarity about how we want to live our lives, how we want to show up, and what we'd like to accomplish. The one that stands out to me the most is our values. What are our values? What do we hold near and dear? That becomes the lens we look through in the decisions we make. and how we treat others and how we show up for people and how we support one another, how we take care of ourselves. Like those values, when you can clearly define them. I think a lot of people kind of know what's important to them, but it's not clearly defined. Fortunately, in QL, you go through this piece to figure it out, but
Yes.
and you can kind of get some clarity around it. But once you know your values and what you stand for, then you know where you fit, what's the right thing for you, how you can best support and add value to other people, how you can take care of yourself, those types of things. So I think that's a key piece.
Not to put you on the spot, but what you brought up your values. What are your 2 or 3 top values?
I mean, I think, and this is what I get to do now. This is wild because the path that I've gotten to be on over the last few years really goes back to values that I set a long time ago. So I sat down with Nikki Ubaldini, who's been very involved with NextGen, and is a Quantum Leap instructor, whether for NextGen or otherwise. She teaches it, and I've taken it with her. And I worked for her for a long time, and I remember sitting down and going through a life story, like where is it that we see ourselves, and what do we want to see have happen? And words kept popping up. Words kept popping up about, helping inspire others and helping create opportunity for people, and being someone that can bring certainty and support. Like I've always had this desire to want to try to figure things out that are complicated, make them simple, and share them with other people so they can achieve their goals. And Nikki helped me figure that out when we're going through this kind of life journey, which is where your values start to show up. And now I'm living that every day. I mean, there's it's wild to think that the things that Nikki and I talked about many, many years ago when I was going to go be a team leader for her are the things I'm doing today, even though I'm not in that role anymore. But I got some clarity around it. And then naturally, those opportunities that fit within those values will show up for you because now you know what you're looking for. Now you know what it is that you want to do. Now you know how you can best impact others and support yourself at the same time. I'm very grateful for that.
You share a little bit about what you do now, because I think that's important to the conversation, because I do think it really displays your values really well.
Well,
too.
I moderate a Facebook group for a living. My mother is so proud. My poor mom can't figure out what to tell her friends what her son does. But I mean, effectively, I moderate a Facebook group for a living. But I created this Facebook group as we were going into the pandemic. So much uncertainty at that time. And so there was I had some concern too. At the time, I was coaching Bold. So this is this program that Keller Williams does where we're going city to city for 7 weeks. And obviously we weren't going to do stuff like that in the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm back at home and I thought, well, how can I help people? What could I do to support people? And I needed something to do for my own mental health and well-being. And so then I thought, well, let's just hop on a Zoom every day as long as we need to and talk about, there's 2 things I want us to think about. First, I wanted us to have a mindset of opportunity, that in challenging times, there is still a way that we can accomplish great things. But we needed to have a mindset of that first, that there is opportunity in this. And then, though, after you have this mindset of opportunity, you actually have to do work to get some results. And so I wanted to teach strategy and systems that would help people. And so we started doing this call. And Brandy, as you know, it's totally exploded. The Facebook group now has 126,000 people in it, which is just crazy. We still do this morning call 6.5 years later. We just did our 1,500th morning call. And that'll have, 900 to 1,000 people on it every day. Like some of them have been on more calls than I've been on. And so every day now since March 16th of 2020, except for a little 5-week break in the fall of that year, we have done this call. So that's what I do now. And it's led to some opportunity. But what's funny and what's cool about it is that if you go back to what we talked about, when the pandemic hits, we all have a choice. Are we going to be a victim or are we going to be accountable? Stuff happened. Which direction are we going to go? And I chose to be accountable. What can we do? How can we move forward? What's going to be a strategy? But then it was in alignment with my values. I didn't want to just do it for me. How can I help and support other people? How can we bring community together so that we can collectively support one another? I mean, it was just so fit, Brandy.
It does.
And without the lessons that we learn in Quantum Leap, I took it once with Dick Dillingham in 2011.
Okay.
And then took it with Gary once at Family Reunion. He taught a condensed version of it at Family Reunion, I think in like 2017. And then I took it with Nikki Ubaldini maybe in 24. So 3 times sat through it. And it's just crazy to think that, you go back to that first time I was in the room where I learned some of these principles that wasn't in a QL course, but I still learned some of these principles to 20 something years later, I get to live them. But I wouldn't have even known about them, looked for them, and seeking them had they not been taught to me.
I think about just a slight shift towards our audience of 18, 22, 25-year-olds. If they had access to these conversations and really understood how to apply the principles early, how would their path be different? And what do you think might happen along the way? What kind of struggles would they maybe avoid?
I think there's, it took me, let's see, I was almost 30 when
Hmm.
I really started to learn this stuff. And had I had the opportunity to learn it at 18 or 19 or 20, it would have saved me a lot of heartache and stress and anxiety. I may have been able to keep my first job. I only got in real estate because I got fired from my first job for being a jerk. Like it's just, just how things worked out. Um, so it would have definitely helped because this is not what we're being taught. I didn't learn this stuff in college.
Hmm.
I certainly didn't learn it in high school. So to be able to figure out who you are and what you're about, boy, does it make the decisions about who you're going to hang out with a little bit easier. Where the environments you want to be in work wise once you're done with school, where you want to go, the relationships that matter to you, because we become kind of who we hang out with. I think
Hmm.
about this that like it's hard for me to get kind of victimy now because I have the accountability of all the people that I hang out with every day. So when I get that way, they'll call me out because we're not in an environment of being a victim. We're in an environment of seeking opportunity and getting to work and coming up with strategy and figuring out what the next steps are. But I wouldn't have hung out in that space before. So I
Hmm.
think once you get clarity about those key things, what's important to you, who are you, who do you want to be, where do you want to hang out, the group of people you hang out with might be different. The choices you make might be different, and you may save yourself from some issues or challenges that would pop up otherwise because you just have a different perspective. It doesn't mean, obviously, we're not going to face issues and challenges, we will, but how we respond to them might be different.
Anything, any other principles that, like, it seems to me that the way you're living, James, is more, it's almost like it's like breathing for you. They become less like a system and more just part of your life and how you
Yeah. Oh,
think and
yeah.
how you
Yeah.
live,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you think there was a time where that you saw that come to fruition, where you realized that it was becoming you? And was that a big moment for you in your life?
I think that if you look at the world that I'm in now, there are a handful of things. Number one, my first responsibility is after taking care of me, I have responsibility at home. I'm married for 16 years and we have a 14-year-old daughter. Those are my responsibilities. And so when you think about beliefs and perspectives and values, I value those two relationships and I want to make sure that things are great at home. And so I've been able to create a work environment that's allowed me to do that. I can step away. I can be at her. She's a competitive. She's in on the dance team, so I can go see all of her conventions and competitions and see her recitals and do all that kind of stuff. And my wife and I can have a date night every week and do these things. And I want to be able to live that because it's important to me.
Well, I know that you believe in what we're doing, James, because you are so supportive also. You and the Shift Ahead community have raised quite a bit of money and support for KW Next Gen and all the young adults that we get the power to work with. And you even have some of those young adults in your community that come and speak on our behalf and share all the cool stuff that they are getting access to. And I think it's a great first place for them to come, right? Because when you're in your teens and your 20s, early on, learning these principles and setting the foundation for your life first
Yeah.
allows you then to have that purpose and that intention to go out and build your business and take action on those things. So what is it that causes that belief for you and your community? Like, why is it that y'all support this so much, do you think?
It's so important. And maybe part of it is because I have a teenager in my house and
Mm-hmm.
my daughter her behavior is similar to mine. My wife calls her James Jr. And so it's like, well, if she can learn some of these things before I learned them, it may just save her some issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have had the opportunity to meet. There are so many wonderful young leaders on this planet, and we need young leadership. We need young leaders to step up, but we've got to help them step up. We've got to bring the ladder over to them. And we need it so badly. There's so many old people in charge of everything right now.
Yeah.
And if we have the opportunity to help elevate some really talented young people to provide a different perspective or to share some different ideas or to take the reins of some things. I was a young team leader, and to be able to support them is so important.
So if there's one thing in this next generation of leaders, what do you think? What's the one shift or skill or understanding that you'd like to give them? Is there anything that you feel like you could impart that would help them along their way?
Well, I would just say I think a couple of things. Start to figure out what's important to you and what your values are, but know that you don't have to have it all figured out. That some of those values may change over time. Some of those values may be different than the values in the household you grew up in, and that's okay. But know that you don't have to have everything figured out all the time. Just let things go, hang out with the right people, and it will naturally show itself to you.
Thank you so much for joining me today, having this conversation, and truly, truly for showing up the way you do and supporting with Founders Day coming up soon. I'm just reminded all the time of how supportive your community is, and that y'all make that part of truly the what you do and who and how you show up and how you support. So it does mean so very much to this organization, to KW Next Gen, and to all the young adults that I get to work with. So thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We love supporting you.